All right, welcome everybody. Got some people logging in already. Welcome, welcome. I'll just give everybody a couple of minutes, or not a couple of minutes, but a moment or two to log in. Well, we've got a lot of people joining us today. So let's get started with TradingView. So the platform that we're using, the one that I like to use for my charts is this platform called TradingView. Now, TradingView has a lot of different options that you guys could use. There's option, that's how I got started a number of years ago. There's I just saw Liberty pop in. Hey, Liberty. I'm just going to keep
Thank
everybody
you.
muted for right now. And yeah, so Liberty, you're a veteran. You know how to use the Q&A box. So just as we go along, use the Q&A box, and we will answer questions that way. So back to TradingView. I started using this platform years ago. It's a great platform that you could sign up for free, and that's how I got started. But it gives you this layout here, which is just very simple. You have your price bars, you have volume down on the bottom, and you have this grid. And one of the first things that I think that we should do before we do anything else with these charts is first set an intention, right? This is true for how I go about all parts of my trading, how I go through my day. Set an intention for what you want this thing to be, well, what you want it to do. And so for me, the way that I have it set up, well, what we're actually going to do is take what's here with this, and eventually we'll be able to get to something that looks like this. And now, well, what we have over here, we've got a split screen. We've got the dark screen in the back. We've got a couple of indicators over here. I've annotated some of these charts, different colors. We'll be able to do all that, but to get from here to this takes a few different steps. And the first step that it starts out with is that intention. So the first thing is that I saw with this is that, well, I want to be able to look at stocks, and I want to be able to look at them across time frames, right? So when we're going to analyze a stock, it's very important to not just understand what's happening on one time frame, but we want to know what's happening at least on 2 or 3. For me, I like to have 6 up, and the reason why is because I both swing trade and I also day trade. So I want to see, well, what's happening on monthly time frames. I want to be moving with that longer term trend. I'll find many of my setups on the weekly time frames, right? Let me switch back over here. So I'll find a lot of the setups right over here on the weekly time frame. Then over here on the daily, that's where I'll do a lot of my work trying to find out exactly, well, what is the setup? Where support is, resistance? How do I want to start drawing this thing out? And then for day trades, that's when I start to get into the 2 hour, the 30-minute, and even down to the 1 minute chart. Start to seeing, like, how do I want to pinpoint these moves and capture the bulk of the move, and while also trading with the higher time frames. So how do we get from this to this, right? So we started with the intention. All right, great. So the next thing that you're going to want to do to set up is, you see this box right here? It says select layout. So if you have TradingView already, fantastic. Open it up if you don't have it open already, and you can click that little button there. If you don't have TradingView yet, then go ahead and you can sign up for an account after this is done. This is being recorded. It'll be up on YouTube later on, so that way you could go through and follow along again if you need to. But just for right now, try to absorb it as much as you can. And if you do have it open, go right at it. So you would click select layout, and the one that I have is the Pro Plus. Now, the Pro Plus is going to give you all these different options. If you have the free version, you might not have as many different layouts, but that's okay, right? Like if you're just starting out and you don't want to spend money yet, then you could still have at least a gorgeous looking background and different colors and be able to annotate well, just not have the split screens yet. But that's okay. We'll talk about how to work around that too. But for right now, you would just do the split screen. And the reason why you want to do the split screen first is because when you do the split screen first, then you could annotate or your whole setup for how you'll have the different time frames on each of these, and then how you start to edit one background versus editing another one. You would be able to apply all, versus if you just started from here, did all of your edits on this, and then you're like, oh, let me do the split screen. Then you would need to go back and start over. So, so that's something that I learned the hard way, and so hopefully now you don't have to. So, so we've got the split screen. We're starting out with 6. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to start making our layout. So let's go to this first one here, and we could click this little gear icon right there, chart properties, and we'll start setting up just from the top, from the symbol. So the thing that I like to do, I like to have just very simple charts. I like to have high, low, close bar charts. That's what these are. It's just telling us the high, the low, and the close. You can, if you use candlesticks, that's perfectly fine. You could set it up the exact same way, pick whatever colors you want, and you're good to go. But for me, I like to use orange for my up bars, and I like to use gray for my down bars. And so like I'll actually, I think I've got this one set up on my other charts. But to me, like those are just nice colors. I've got them all around the room, and so it makes it. I feel more connected to it, right? Like, and that's part of it too. We want to feel connected to what it is that we're doing. It doesn't need to be red and green if that's not your thing. The most important thing is that it's meaningful to you, and you'll have consistency throughout, and you want it to feel good. You want it to be easy on the eyes. So that way, you're going to spend a lot of time looking at this stuff. Why not make it beautiful? If you've got this white background that's a grid, and to me, like it'd be hard to look at all the time. So that's one of the reasons why we're setting this up. But having the color bars based on the previous close, I find that to be helpful as well. I've got somebody else popping in. Do we have any questions yet, by the way? Let me see if there's anything in the question box. No, not yet. All right, cool. So this is the first thing on the symbol, right? So we've got this box checked, color bars based on previous close, high-low close. We changed our colors, and then we can click apply. Actually, let me see. Yeah, let's click apply all. So that way it goes to all different charts of there. Notice too that it didn't go to the volume bars. Well, we'll need to do that in just a little bit. We won't do that now. We'll get through each of these first. So on the next, status line, right? So status line, all those stay exactly the same, right where they are. Next up is the scales. So on the scales, the setup that I have is pretty much same thing, right? Go with the default settings. Those are perfectly all right. for the appearance, now this is where things start to change, right? Like this is where, well, we could start to get the dark background, right? So, but you don't want to just switch to a dark background and then you have this grid pop up. To me, like that would just be really intense to look at all the time. So we'll get rid of those just by switching the color of the vertical grid lines to black and the horizontal grid lines to black as well. And then we've just got this plain black background with a nice colored bar charts right there. Pretty nice. Then let's see, well, what else do we got? Actually think that is it on those charts. So we've got, if you wanted to add a watermark to it, you could. To me, it kind of gets in the way. So I keep the watermark checked off. But you could do either way. And then, again, we can apply to all. And now we've got that on all those charts, which is fantastic. Then come down here to trading. On trading, let me see what I've got for trade settings. On trade settings, again, the default there is fine. And same thing with the events too. The events is pretty straightforward. So we've got our basic layout, well, with the different charts, the backgrounds, the colors, all that, fantastic. Now, for each one of these, like they're going to represent something different, right? So we just click on this one. Now that's going to be a monthly time frame. Over here, this is going to be a weekly time frame. Down here, this one is going to be the daily. Over here, I like to have it set as a 2-hour. On this one, I like to have it set up as the 30-minute most of the time. Sometimes I'll change it if I'm working with something or displaying it, but the default is generally 30. And over here, generally it'll be like a 3-minute. Sometimes it'll be a 1-minute. Most of the time, 3-minute chart. And now, well, we've got our base, right? We need to adjust these volume bars. So let's come over here, and we could just click. So what did I do? I just came up to this. I clicked on it, and then right-clicking on it. Then you could go into the settings. We see that right there, it's the volume. And go to settings. And then for growing, right? The same color scheme. So we're going to do orange for growing, and then gray for falling. And that is pretty much it. And oh yeah, and also we could have the volume moving average right there as well. And then just click OK. Actually, come over here. We could also adjust the moving average length. And this is going to be the reason why we need to adjust the volume on each one rather than just applying all, because the moving averages will be different on each one. So this is a monthly chart, right? Like, so you wouldn't want to look at a 50-period moving average on a monthly chart. For monthly, I find 12 to be better to look at. So we're looking at a 1-year, basically, moving average. So we could just click OK on that one. Oh, it looks like we've got a question. Andy, is there a setting for logarithmic? Yes, there is. So down here, we could click log. Really changes the look of it, doesn't it? Yeah, well, one of the benefits of having a logarithmic uh, setting versus a versus just having the non-logarithmic setting is because it'll help you smooth out the move versus seeing like this parabolic thing, and you could have a greater sense of uh, the tightness of the pattern. Do I have a preference on using log? Um, not, not really. Not really. Most of the time, I actually have the regular setting, but I think that both, it really depends, right? The short version, no, no, I don't have a strong preference one way or the other, but actually, if you're looking at it like this, right? If you're a little bit more experienced and you're trying to see, like, well, how, are we getting a parabolic move, right? Like, this might look like a parabolic move on Dexcom, and you'd be like, I will never touch that, right? And just like over here, right? Like, looks super extended, but if you do a logarithmic, then it's kind of how it's helping you see the proportion of the move better than if it's just non logarithmic. I hope that helps explain it a little bit. Yeah, I'll need to think about how to answer that a little bit better. Oh, good. I'm glad that it gave you clarity. I wasn't sure if it was clear enough, but let's add the colors to the other volume bars. So let's come over here and add the style for this one, and for that we've got the gray. For the weekly, we'll do a 10-week moving average. And on the daily, it'll be 50. And on the daily and below, we'll use 50-day moving average. The reason why we're going to use a 50-day on the daily versus when we were looking at the monthly and the weekly is because that's the industry standard for the daily time frame. The major institutions of the world are looking at the 50-day moving average. And so that's why I do. That's why it's the recommended one. So we'll just switch all these to, and let's get there's the moving average. It's pretty easy to set this stuff up too. Like, well, once you do it once for each one, then the great thing too is that you could copy the chart layout after you save it, and then just rename it to something else, right? Like, so you could make a copy, then change it, and then it's going to keep on carrying forward for you. So you won't need to keep on fiddling around with different things, which is pretty amazing. There's the moving average for that one. And let's get this one going down here. Here's the gray. And put in 50 for that one. So now we're all set with that part of it. All right. Um, so from here, well, what will we do? We've got our layouts. The next thing that I think that we would do is save it, right? And so the auto save is on it. It's saving it for us. Right now it's unnamed. We could rename this. Let's just call this test, right? So we'll keep it saved as test for right now. But the other thing that's on here that I want to point out is that you can come over here and click make a copy, and then you can have additional copies of that one. So that way you could not only like have different versions of this. Let's say you wanted to use this as a different purpose, but you could start changing other things in this one if you wanted to have different versions. Like for me, what I like to do is I'll have, and just to show you some of the ones that I have, and you would come out down here to load chart layout. Like I have one that's my system that's already opened. Then I have one for major indexes. So I've got all the major indexes already split up on the S&P, the NASDAQ, Russell 2000, NYSE, the daily, the Dow. All this is just on the 5. These 5 are all on the daily time frames, and then from there, what I'll do is I also have it saved on the weekly, and then also saved on the monthly. So I don't need to go and start fiddling around with time frames. I could just open up TradingView, load the chart layout, have it displayed, and I'm good to go. There's nothing like redoing or resetting every single time I go out and I do this. Let's see. Kathy, what advantage do you have using TradingView versus DAS or Thinkorswim? Not familiar with DAS, but as far as using this versus Thinkorswim, one of the advantages that I've seen with TradingView that is I haven't been able to find it anywhere else, including my second and third favorite charting platforms. TrendSpider is also an amazing platform. They're great for backtesting, and I also love to use MarketSmith. The screening tools in MarketSmith are fantastic. Their charts are not as easy to manipulate as these, but the thing that I love the most on TradingView are actually all the different Pine scripts. It's outside of the scope of this presentation because it's a little bit more advanced, and we'll have another one. But just very simply, you could create whatever kind of scripts you want. And like I'll have distribution days. I'll have the number of stocks making new highs versus new lows, putting those on the indexes. I'll have relative strength versus the S&P as another thing, and it's pretty like I'm not a complex guy where I'm going to have tons of different like Bollinger Bands, Fibonacci's, all this stuff. Like for the most part, like it's just moving averages, the distribution days highlighted, and having them counted up for me. And TradingView lets you do all that stuff. And I haven't found another platform that gives you that much flexibility and is this easy to annotate. So that's why I found TradingView, gosh, maybe let's say 7 years ago, and I haven't looked back. So let's see, which one were we on? Let's close these ones here. Coffee, you're welcome. All right, so there's our test 1, there's our test 2. All right, so we created a layout, we created multiple saved layouts, and you see how you can do that. Now, the next thing, let's add some indicators to this. So for each one, it's real simple. You just come up here, you click indicators, and then some of the favorite ones that I have, right? Like just real simple, moving average, right? So on the monthly chart, I like to have 2 moving averages. I'll have and you just click the button and then it adds it for you. I like to have a 12-month moving average. And you could come over here, you could change the color of it. I generally like to keep it in red. So you could also change the thickness of the line. And then for the other one, I'll put it for gray. We'll also have it be kind of on the thick side, and that'll be a 36-month moving average. So we've got 1 year and 3 year for the monthly charts. For the weekly, I'll just have 2 moving averages, right? I'll have a 10-week and I'll have a 40-week. So over here, just click 2 different moving averages. And then, and both of these are, I also want to point out, these are simple moving averages. On the daily charts, we're going to add both simple and exponential moving averages. And the reason why is because, well, that's basically what I was taught to use from a couple of different sources. One, Bill O'Neill and the Investors Business Daily team, when I went through their chart school, market school, taught by O'Neill portfolio managers. Those were the ones that they used. And so like they just kind of absorbed it and have been using it that way. But also from Ed Sakota, who, if you're unfamiliar with him, he was profiled in one of Jack Schwager's books called Market Wizards. He used a series of moving averages, 5, 10, 21 EMAs. He also used the 50 SMA, 100 EMA, and a 200 SMA on the daily time frames. And so it was good enough for him, good enough for me. And so that's why I like to add those to my charts as well. And the thing that I found to be important about which moving average, right? Like it's not like, oh, well, like these are magical moving averages then because Mike uses it and the other guys that he routed off use it, therefore you have to use it. It's more about like being consistent, right? Like whatever moving averages or things that you pick, you want to be consistent with what you choose to use. So we've got a 10, we've got a 40 over here. You want to be consistent with, well, what you use, so that way your eye will start to pick up things as you go through your charts. And well, when you have big lists and you start to go through them routinely, when you have things that are constant, right? Like your layout is going to be constant. It's a beautiful layout. You're going to be using it frequently. You have the same moving averages that are there all the time. Things are going to start popping out at you as you go, as your eye gets trained. Things get added into this part of your brain called the reticular activating system, where it's like it's the reason why, like, if you buy a car, right? And then all of a sudden, like, you start seeing that same car everywhere. It's not that everybody just started buying that car. It's that now that part of the brain is activated, like, oh, like, this is important to me. Okay, now you just start spotting them. And that's what you want to have set up with your charts. And it's why you don't want to use a 10 EMA one day and then a 17 EMA the next day. And then the day after that, you're like, screw moving averages. Let me use Bollinger Bands or whatever it's going to be. You want to be consistent with the things that you're going to use. So let's get the other moving averages up on this. So now we're on the daily chart. So again, come over here, click the indicators, and we're going to add the moving average, right? Or you wouldn't have favorites yet, so you would just come over here, type in moving average, and you could click it there. And the other one too, since we're here, let's get a few exponential moving averages, right? So we're going to have the 5, the 10, the 21, and the 100. So there's 6 moving averages altogether. So we'll just come over here and we'll edit these like we have been. So the 50, I like to put red for the 50 and have that be moderate thickness. Click OK. Then over here, that moving average, that'll be a 200-day moving average. Let's type that in. Let that be gray. Then we've got our EMAs. The EMA, this first one, that gray could be a lighter gray. Actually, let's make this one over here, that 200, just a tad darker, right? And let this, the one that we're going to keep as the 5, be on the lighter side. Yeah, I like that better. Change that over to 5. Click OK. Fantastic. Now we've got what'll be the 10. The 10 I like to keep as green. Make it a little thicker. Then this one over here. No, not that one. This one. We'll make the 21. And that one I like to put as purple. The reason why I'll use purple for that one is because that's kind of what came from MarketSmith. And that was really, that was one of the first charting platforms I had. I had that before I had TradingView. And yeah, like at this point, I like using both. Both serve different purposes. So, and both are great at saving time. So we've got that. This one I'll make orange, have it be light, very thin, and that's what we've got. That's what we've got for the daily, and then we could add the other ones to the other charts as well. Do we have any questions on anything yet? Be sure to use that little Q&A button if you have any questions. Let's get the other ones in while we're waiting. Well, I'm here. Let me see. Just add to favorites too. That's another thing that you could do. You could just scroll your mouse over, star it, right? And now when I come over here, the moving average exponential is there all the time, which is fantastic. Just add the other indicators to the intraday charts. Make that red. This will be the 50. Looks like we've got another question from K Gatso. Hope I pronounced your name correctly, or maybe it's maybe let me know if the K is silent, if it's Gatso or K Gatso. But hi, Michael. How long have you been trading, and what would you say is the most important trait of trading? So great question, and great thing for me to answer while I'm just getting the rest of this set up. So I've been trading now for a little over 20 years. I think that this is actually my 21st year of trading. And that's not to say that it's been 21 years of successful trading. No, quite the opposite. It actually took me 10 years to finally get successful at this. And the reason why is because I was making every single mistake that that a person could make at trading. Like my first experience trading, I was 18, so I guess I've been trading now for 22 years actually. So my first experience, well, when I was 18, I graduated high school, had a little bit of money saved up, and I went to my local bank, and I walked in, and I told them, hey, I will want to put some money in stocks, right? I heard that that was a great way to make money. And they're like, oh, no, you don't want to do that. That's way too risky. What you want is this. And that, well, what they did was that they pulled out these mutual funds. And I didn't know it at the time, that what mutual funds really were, just like a kind of a basket of stocks. And it's just like, oh, well, what should I pick? And I ended up picking a couple of different bond funds, and and I picked this the stock fund, and I thought that, well, at least I'm going to be I'm going to be diversified, right? And I've got these professionals managing it for me, and I'll be safe that way. So what I did from there was I started my bachelor's at the time, and in 6 months it was like, wow, my positions are up so much, right? Like my positions were up, say, I think 10% at the time after 6 months, and it's like, man, I'm a genius. I'm gonna be rich, right? And then I didn't bother to look at it again because my studies started to get busy, and it's like, well, I've got other people managing it for me that know what they're doing. I realized I made a mistake with the moving averages too. That's one of the things where you do want to focus while you're doing these kinds of things, right? Like I'm trying to do two things at once and not focus. And you saw that that I made a mistake with entering it. So don't do that when you're doing it. Well, when you guys are doing this yourself, let this be the only thing there that you're doing. Maybe you want to have some music on in the background. You don't want to have mistakes on your charts that are going to carry through, especially when you are setting up a template. But just to finish the story, I waited like 2 years. I graduated in 2002, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna walk out with all this money, and I wasn't paying attention to the market. I didn't even know what NASDAQ or .com bubble was or anything like that. My idea was put money in, more money magically pops out the other side after waiting a certain amount of time. And I learned the hard way that that's not the case. Even if you have loads of diversification, even if you have professionals managing it for you, like I walked out of there and I only put $5 grand in at the time, right? Like that was all the money that I had graduating high school that I saved up. I thought that I would have maybe about 10, 15 grand, something nice to go buy a car, or at least have a decent sized down payment for a car that I had my eye on at the time. But I went to withdraw the funds, and I had $4 grand. How the hell did that happen? I had professionals. I had lots of time. I was diversified. Well, learn the hard way that nobody cares more about your money than you do. And if you're going to invest, you better learn a few things first, right? And then from there, I had this whole journey of learning the hard way of, well, what intention do you even want to have? Gaining clarity on your intention, understanding charts. Like I didn't even really look at charts, not like this, until 10 years in. It's really crazy to think about. Well, like, and one of the questions that I get asked a lot too is, well, why the hell did you stick with it for so long if you're having no success? And glutton for punishment, maybe? And like, how did you not quit? And to be honest, I did quit. I quit a couple of different times, and it wasn't like 10 years, like hunkered down, like just trying to trade this thing, and it wasn't working. It was a lot like getting your head bashed in, walking away from it. Then eventually it finds its way back, and then you just keep on going. Or at least that's what happened to me. Time, that they say that time heals all wounds. Time also helps you forget some of the mistakes when you're away that longer. That it helps ease the pain. And I got back in, and then made more mistakes, and then I got kicked it to the side. Never again. Came back in, and that happened for 10 years, and then the trading gods must have said, you know what, let's just leave this guy that's being so stubborn with this. Let's send him to some spots where he's actually going to get help. And that's when I finally found How to Make Money in Stocks, that book written by William O'Neill. That's when I started to find Investors Business Daily and the New York City Investors Business Daily meetup groups. And the most valuable part of all that was finding groups of people to learn with, engage with, and to see what they were doing and what was working for them, what wasn't working for them, and to understand that you could be trading the same system as somebody else, but like everybody's going to be doing it in their own unique way. And the people that have ultimately mastered this game, they've developed their own way, like they've got their own style of doing it. So you might take like the bits and pieces from here, Mike is setting up these charts. They look really nice. What you want to do for yourself is to develop your own way of doing it. What's going to be important to you, and to figure out why is it important to you, and to have an important why behind it. Because if it's just because, well, Mike said so, or this other guy on YouTube said so, or somebody else, it's not a good enough reason. You need to understand why something works, and for it to fit what your goals are. Let's see, Kathy. I like the previous question. If you please give a little background about yourself, the things you struggled with while starting, what made you profitable. I think I answered most of that. I think the thing that made me profitable was, or one of the things that made me profitable was that kind of like running out of ways to fail at this game. Like getting around other people, getting clear on what I wanted to achieve, what my goals are, figuring out what trading beliefs I had. Most of us, we just kind of adopt beliefs from all over the place, and we don't even know what we believe or why we believe it. And so going through a beliefs exercise and figuring out, well, this is what I believe for my trading, and these are why I have X, Y, and Z rules, and getting clear on why they're there. Then figuring out too, well, what can I execute? And what can I execute well? And understanding that that's going to change over time. And to be doing a exercise like that routinely, right? We're not, it's not, trading isn't a thing where you gain knowledge of this and you're done, right? It's not something that you have, it's something that you seek. And when you're seeking, you're always seeking to improve. I'm profitable now. I've been consistently profitable for 10 years. That doesn't mean that I'm done. right? Like it's not just like, all right, set it, forget it. And now like I kick back and relax and that's it. Like I could, but that my goal is to continuously be improving and to give this stuff to you guys. And part of the way to continuously improve, it's not just about having better and better returns, right? Like eventually you're going to get to a point where if you're having 50% returns annually, that sounds great. 60%, great. 100%, great. More than that, fantastic. But eventually you're going to hit a point where it doesn't matter anymore. Right? You have enough, and you're going to want to say like, well, how can I do this and save more time? Right? I don't want to be staring at screens all day. Then the goal starts to shift, and it's like, well, what do I need to sacrifice to have this goal? One of the things that I'm doing now, to give you an example, is I put my day trading for the most part on hold. I did a day trade earlier this week on Shopify. It was the first day trade that I did maybe in about a month. And the trade lasted all of about, I think it was done in under 2 minutes. And it was like 20% in the portfolio, bam, done, right? But so all the setup, it was there. And the reason why I stopped day trading wasn't because it stopped working. It's because my goal had changed. Like right now, my goal is to be doing a lot more coaching. I'm developing a course, I'm writing a book. And if I'm day trading, I can't also do those things. So it's figuring out the life that you want and the lifestyle that you want, and figuring out too, well, what can you execute? And those are the questions that are going to be a little bit different for everybody. And that's why you could have two people trading the exact same system, but they need to do it in their own way. All right, so we've got all these different moving averages up on the screen. The last thing that I wanted to do for this webinar is also show you guys how to annotate, right? So there's a couple of different annotation tools that I like to use, and I'll answer I see a couple of other questions in here as well. We'll get to them, guys. But the thing that I like to do is I'll use really two main things in here for my annotations. I'll use the brush, right? Like that lets you trace out patterns like this. Like I see this as an inverted head and shoulders, or maybe even you could argue a cup with handle. The way that I do it actually looks a little bit more like a cup of handle, to think about it. But you can see too that you draw it on one time frame and it shows up on the other time frames too, which is great. You can set that up right over here, right? When you had that little select layout button, and then sync on all charts. You could have the symbol synced on all charts. And actually on this one, I would have the symbol linked on all charts, because this would be where I would be looking and flipping through charts. I would want the same chart to be on all of them. But again, yeah, like you could let it be, well, whatever purpose you want. That's why like setting the intention, what we did at the beginning, is so important. And then you could have different chart layouts with different intentions, and it'll make it that much easier for you to do this kind of work. So we've got the paintbrush over there. I like using that. And then also just real simple, this tool over here, just drawing out the trend line. Right? Like so on this chart, I would see a little line of resistance right over there. You could see it popping up on the other time frames, and so you could fine tune it on the lower time frames. Another thing that you could do too is pick one time frame and expand it, and then zoom in. You could zoom in by scrolling your mouse, right? Or I think there's another way to do it too, but I'm just so used to scrolling with the mouse that's the easiest way to zoom in for me. So with your little mouse wheel zooming in and out, or if you have a trackpad, you could just pinch and zoom in. that works too. When I was a Mac guy, and I was a Mac guy for years, that's what I would do. But now I'm back to doing PC and Microsoft, and Windows 10 is pretty awesome. But yeah, I would see like little points of support and resistance right there. And this is actually a trade that we highlighted in the Trader's Mind chat room a few weeks ago. So basically, draw out the pattern. You would be able to then analyze that pattern on the higher time frames. We could just click the crossbars, get rid of that thing there, and you could see like how it would lay out on the higher time frames, right? So the monthly is showing us the general trend. Fantastic, general trend up. Over here on the weekly chart, you can see that there's a cup with handle, and there's the support and resistance. It lines up on the weekly time frames. You had basically what was it, 280.97 was that week's high, 280 over here. Great, so a break above 281, and you're breaking above resistance, and your support down here was, the low of the week was 250, and the low of that week, 250. So pretty clear support and resistance right there. Fantastic. Then you come over, you could see on your lower time frame where we drew this out, exactly where you would get in and get out for a swing trade. That's where I would look to execute. If I'm looking for a shorter term trade, like say I want to do a day trade, then I would be coming down over here to just to make sure that it's that I'm still moving with the trend on the 2 hour. Then down here on the 30-minute, right? Like trying to find intraday patterns. So like over here, right? Like if we're starting to mark up, say this down here on a 30-minute, let's say because we drew it there and it'll sync up on the other time frames. Well, what does it look like over here? Right? Like so up here on the daily chart, you might look at that and say, man, that's a little extended. For me, it's not extended, but because you also have this level to play right there, and we also highlighted that add-on in the Trader's Mind chat room and during our weekend prep webinars as well. But you can see like how it tightens up and then gets ready to break out again. Great. So if you're looking at playing that on the lower time frames, you could see like how you might want to play it that way as well. And that's basically what I'm looking at and how I'm using these different tools. Very, very basic level. There's a lot more that we could get into on TradingView. I actually plan on doing another one of these webinars that goes through like all the different Pine script codes, that goes through their reward to risk management tool and some of these other tools over here on the side. But really, it's great to be able to have a platform like this and to be able to go through specifics of how I'm doing things with you guys. So that way, when you're showing up to the webinars on the weekend, and when you're showing up to like the pre-market preps, the end of day wraps, or any of the other coaching webinars that we're doing this kind of chart work, you can have it all set up. You know how to use the tools, and that's the point of this. Let's answer a few questions. And if you guys have questions specific to this, pop them in. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. We're almost at the 5 o'clock mark. I'll stay for a couple of minutes after, but if you have questions specific to TradingView or anything that we've discussed here, let's hit up those first. So let's see. From Adrian, Michael, are you familiar with the Forex market? If you are, would you recommend using the same indicators? So I'm a little familiar with Forex. Like I started trading Forex a little bit towards the end of last year. I thought that I wanted to get into it a lot deeper. After talking with my friends Jason Greystone and Akil Stokes from Tier 1 Trading, I'm actually having Jason on the show, on the Traders Mind Chat show next week, the next Thursday. So go to the Mara Wealth events page. Actually, here's the events page. I'll just put that up while we're talking. And you could go and register for that. That's up right now. And I wanted to start to trade Forex. They gave me access to their entire platform and their course, went through the whole thing. And you know what? Like, so much of what works in stocks, and this was my hypothesis for a long time too. And I saw the same kinds of things working with crypto and and working well with options and other things. So it's like, you know what? Does it work with Forex? And it's like, yes, it does work with Forex too. So you could take the same different types of patterns, the same types of methodologies, and apply it to different asset classes. And that's why one of the great things about trading, transferable skills. You learn how to trade stocks, like all these different patterns. You'll be able to trade other asset classes. Like if that's all you want to do all day long, just trade. And I want to manage Forex accounts, I want to manage stock accounts, I want to trade crypto, I want to trade futures and all this stuff. Like, well, when you start adding on all those other things, you 100% can. The way, what I would suggest though, if you're somebody that's new to trading, pick one asset class and master that first, because it'll take you a while to master one and master a skill, right? Like it would be the equivalent of, let's say you wanted to be a UFC fighter, right? Like you've never fought a day in your life, but you're like, you know what? I saw those guys. I'm seeing Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje fight this weekend, and man, I want to go and do that. But you never fought before, and you're like, well, day one, I'm gonna train Muay Thai. Day two, I'm gonna train wrestling. Then day three, I'm gonna do jiu-jitsu. No, it doesn't work that way. Like pick one art first, master it, and then start adding on the other things, and you'll be able to progress so much faster. Let's see, question from JJ. You mentioned you swing and day trade, but you like the IBD type of trading. Do you swing and day trade the growth stocks that IBD likes? So much of my basis comes from IBD, and like I mentioned before, one of my earliest mentors was O'Neill and his staff. Like I had Mike Webster on earlier this year, and fantastic guy. Met him personally, and then I started to meet other guys that were kind of similar, but different. Guys like Mark Minervini, who was also on the show, Jim Ropel, who was also on the show, read their books. Then I started to learn about guys like Nicholas Darvis, guys like Jesse Livermore, guys like if we come over here, right? Let me put in marawealth.com/books. These are the books that have helped me the most. Like I've read a lot more than what you see over here, but like from mindset, right? Like we've got some of the best mindset books, like this first row, right? Like so, trading in the zone, Super Trader. Super Trader has a lot more than just mindset in there. It's like treating your trading as a business, position sizing, risk management. A lot of the way that I manage risk comes from Tharp. I actually thought that, or at least his way of managing risk and position sizing resonated with me a lot more than O'Neill's way. O'Neill's way of seeing the world and finding high quality growth stocks and analyzing markets, that's fantastic. And so I took a little bit from O'Neill down here, took some from Tharp, then I learned other things from other people, and then that's how it becomes my own. That's how I have my own style, which I call Eagle, right? Like he came up with an acronym, CanSlim. I came up with my own acronym, Eagle. And it, like the way that I'm looking at it, like I want earnings, extraordinary earnings, sales, and or projections. So I want to be involved in the company that might have the cure for this virus. I want to be involved in companies that might have extraordinary sales, but they don't necessarily have the earnings yet. And I understand why O'Neill picked both earnings and sales. That was what resonated to him. For me, like if I couldn't have been involved in something like, say, a Beyond Meat when that started to have its huge move. Didn't have the earnings yet. Amazon didn't have earnings for a long time either, but had a tremendous run. Wanted to be able to participate in that. So figuring out the system that you want, like figuring out what your goal is, right? So when you're designing a system for yourself, you want to see what's out there, right? Like figure out what your goal is, then go and read a book like Market Wizards, and then you'll see like which people resonate with you, and then you'll be able to go deeper into their worlds, and then start taking a little bit from guys like O'Neill, a little bit from guys like Tharp, or from me, or from whoever. There's a bunch of different books on here. These are the best ones that I've read, and that's why I'm sharing them here. I actually need to update this list because there's a few other ones that aren't on here that should be. Now, one of the best ones that I've read recently, not trading, but just general mindset book, this book called High Performance Habits by a guy, Brendan Burchard. Absolutely fantastic. If you haven't read it yet, do it. It will change your life. Let's see. And yes, I actually can share the distribution day script. There's a whole bunch of scripts. If you go to marawealth.com and you type in TradingView, it'll bring you to this page, and you could get all the scripts that I use for free. You just put in your email, and it'll get sent to you. All right, so and it'll save you loads of time. And for the next webinar that we do with TradingView, we'll walk through all those different scripts. But when you go and you get the email from this, there's a step-by-step guide that you'll also receive that tells you how to upload the scripts, why they're important, how I use them, along with the codes. So yeah, go there, grab it. It's great.
Hey Mike, this is Chet. Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, Chet. Well, what's going on?
I have a question, and I can't type into the Q&A option because I'm listed as a panelist. So I don't know if that can be changed or not. But my question is, how do you lower the top of the chart? For example, when you're typing in your profit target, you can't usually see it. How do you actually grab the top of the chart and lower it down?
So hey, what you would do, like, so let's come over here. Let's expand this one, right? Like, so we've got the daily. It's like, if you have it set on auto, right? If that's highlighted, then you can't really move it around. You could just move it side to side. But if you click this button off, right? So you see, well, when I put my mouse over there, it says toggle auto scale. Like, it's not going to let you move it around. But if you turn it off, then you could move it around however you want.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, but my default settings are having it set up like this. And I would just keep it reset, refreshed. Oh, and we're actually on the copy. Yeah, this is the one. And well, when I start out, I always like to right-click and then reset the chart, so that way all of the scales are all even. so it doesn't lead to any kind of confusion that way. But I want to say thank you to everybody that came out today. All you guys are great. I loved great questions. I hope that this helped you out a bit. And if you have any other questions at all, by all means, please email me, get a hold of me in the Traders Mind Chat room. That's actually the best spot to get a hold of me. We have a lot of discussions in this room. I'm checking this room multiple times a day, and it's more of a discussion board than like a chat room, right? So we'll be able to go deeper into whatever topics that you have. So sign up for the room. It comes with a free 7-day trial. Check it out. That's the best way to get a hold of me. If you need to email me or anything, you can do that as well. I'm super active on all different social medias, and also come out to the different events that we have too. There's more events coming up on the weekend and next week. You can see that I like to stick around and answer a lot of questions. So the goal is to give you guys as much value as possible, and to help see as many people win at this trading game as possible too. Everybody deserves to be able to win at this. Everybody is capable. It's a matter of putting in the work and the right kinds of work too. Don't be like how I was and thinking that the work just meant like you read something, you follow some guru, and then that's it. No, like there's a lot more to it than that. There's the different mindset work, figuring out like, well, what your goals are, why, how can you execute things like that. That will bring you so much closer to your goal, so much faster. I want to say thank you again for coming out to this. The recording will be up and distributed to everybody that registered in about, I'd say it'll probably be ready in about an hour or so. And then after that, we'll get this edited and posted on YouTube, and then that'll be up there forever as well. And so for anybody that came in a little bit late, you could go back, rewatch certain parts, and then get everything set up that way. And I'll also send you a couple of highlights and links to things that we spoke about too. So that's it. Again, thank you all so much for joining today, and I hope to see you all again very soon. Take care. Peace out.